and the restoration of them, please.
Yeah, and Senator Booker, I had stated earlier that yes, we did terminate grants. We have an appeal process. We have turned some back on. We are appealing. We are looking at some. Some we have denied. Some are still pending. I believe we have multiple appeals pending with New Jersey, and I would be happy to sit down with you and look at those appeals. I believe one is with the city of New Jersey. I know there are multiple ones pending, but of course, I would be happy to sit down with you or any senator or any House member and look at grants that have been terminated. I've been doing that, and I would welcome that.
But I will be the first one you sit down with, correct?
Absolutely. I'd love to sit down with you on that. I'll look at those tomorrow, Senator Booker.
Thank you very much.
All right, this is completely explosive. Pam Bondi, Trump's attorney general, was reportedly caught removing documents from a courthouse shortly after a federal judge issued a major order demanding full DOJ compliance and document disclosure. Witnesses claimed they saw it happen. Video footage reportedly captured it. Bondi was seen rushing to remove documents just as the judge appeared to signal a significant turn in the case. And now the judge is calling for her immediate arrest. This is not a threat. This is not a warning. This is a judge saying, "Arrest this woman now. She is destroying evidence. She is obstructing justice and must be taken into custody immediately before more evidence is destroyed or she attempts to flee." This is the Attorney General of the United States facing arrest over alleged evidence tampering. That is unprecedented. That is a constitutional crisis. That is the nation's highest law enforcement official being accused of criminal conduct. But before we go any further, let's be honest for a moment. You really can't trust the mainstream media anymore. That's why we created Pump Politics, to bring you real stories, real facts, and no corporate bias. If you want to stay ahead of the news, sign up for our free newsletter. We'll deliver the latest updates straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to subscribe. And if you simply want to support our work, join us. Become part of a community that truly values the truth. All right, let's get back to the video.
Booker, first to OCDF. The most important point is that the work of OCDF is continuing. The executive office is being dissolved. We have said that, but the work of OCDF is continuing. The resources that were previously provided to law enforcement organizations through OCDF are now going directly to those organizations. I will assure you, no work will be sacrificed as a result of getting rid of the executive office of OCDF. The agents and the attorneys are working with Homeland Security. They're all working together as a unit.
Okay, Attorney General Bondi, I'm running out of time, and I'm going to put some questions in QFRs, because again, this is conservative think tanks and others are pointing about the literally over 1,000 people being taken off of things that I think would concern the public. I'd like to get that, but I also just want to quickly mention that, for the record, I want to ask about the public corruption unit as well. We now have gone from a public corrupt integrity section that went from 36 full-time prosecutors.
The specific circumstances make this situation even more serious. The judge had just issued an order requiring the DOJ to comply with discovery requests, turn over documents related to political prosecutions, stop withholding evidence, and begin operating with transparency. And just moments after that order was issued, witnesses reportedly saw Bondi removing documents from the courthouse, not personal belongings, not case files she was legally allowed to take. These were documents that were supposed to be provided to the court, evidence covered by the judge's order. Bondi was allegedly caught trying to conceal or destroy that evidence instead of complying with the court's demand. That's obstruction of justice. That's evidence tampering. Those are serious federal crimes that can carry substantial prison sentences. And for an attorney general to be accused of doing it, that's beyond shocking. Witness accounts describe a chaotic scene. Bondi appeared panicked, moving quickly, trying to leave the courthouse with boxes of documents, court staff noticing and raising concerns, security becoming involved, and the judge being informed immediately. The judge's response was fast and forceful, an immediate order for Bondi's arrest. No delay, no opportunity to surrender later. Immediate arrest. That shows how seriously the judge views this, how strong the evidence of obstruction appears to be, and how concerned the judge is that Bondi could destroy more evidence if given the opportunity. Video footage reportedly shows Bondi and her staff removing documents. That's not just witness testimony, that's visual evidence. Recorded footage that cannot easily be denied or dismissed. The video shows Bondi carrying boxes. It shows her leaving the courthouse. It shows a timeline indicating that documents were removed shortly after the court order. That video could be highly damaging in any prosecution involving Bondi because it serves as direct evidence of what allegedly occurred. The judge's criticism was unusually sharp, raising questions about whether Bondi herself was involved in a cover-up. That's a judge formally suggesting that the Attorney General may have participated in misconduct, concealed evidence, and obstructed the administration of justice. And the judge warned, there will be consequences if you're hiding evidence. That warning has now turned into action. The arrest order is the consequence. The judge is carrying out that warning, making it clear that Bondi's position does not shield her from accountability. Legal experts are united in their assessment. If Bondi removed or destroyed evidence covered by a court order, that is obstruction and grounds for immediate arrest and federal charges. This is not a close case. This is not a gray area. This is clear criminal behavior. Bondi was ordered to provide documents. Instead, she removed them. That is obstruction. Period. And the penalties are serious. Federal obstruction charges can carry up to 20 years in prison. Evidence tampering carries similar penalties. Bondi could face decades in prison if convicted. Senate and House lawmakers have joined calls for Bondi's arrest. They are also demanding her disbarment, arguing that evidence tampering at the highest levels of government cannot be ignored. Both parties are making these demands. Democrats, of course, but also some Republicans who believe that an attorney general destroying evidence is unacceptable, regardless of party. The bipartisan criticism shows how serious this situation is, how clear Bondi's alleged misconduct was, and how determined Congress is to ensure accountability. The connection to DOJ political interference is important because this is not happening on its own. Bondi has been accused of using the Justice Department to target Trump's political opponents, bringing cases without enough evidence, and politicizing federal prosecutions. And now she has been accused of destroying evidence connected to those prosecutions. That suggests she knew the prosecutions were improper, that she was concealing evidence that could show political motives, and that she was covering up misconduct at the highest levels of the Justice Department. The BBC and other national outlets are describing this as the most serious example yet of alleged DOJ political interference because these are no longer just accusations. It's documented. There is video reportedly showing Bondi removing evidence. There is a judge ordering her arrest. There is evidence of obstruction and cover-up. All of it supporting what critics have been saying, that Bondi has been weaponizing the Justice Department, that she has been pursuing political prosecutions, and that she has been willing to commit crimes to conceal that fact. Calls for broad DOJ reform are growing stronger, because if the Attorney General is destroying evidence, if the head of the Justice Department is engaging in obstruction, then the entire department is compromised. Congress is calling for independent oversight, outside investigations, accountability systems that cannot be controlled by those who are themselves under scrutiny. This is the moment when Bondi's misconduct became undeniable, when she was caught, when the evidence of her actions became public, and when a judge decided enough is enough and ordered her arrest. All right, so let's break down exactly what Bondi did, what evidence exists that she removed documents, and why this creates such serious criminal liability. The sequence of events is important. The judge issued an order requiring the DOJ to provide documents related to several high-profile political prosecutions. These are cases where Trump's opponents argue the Justice Department has been used against them, where charges were brought without strong evidence, where prosecutorial discretion was misused for political reasons. The judge wanted access to internal DOJ records, memos about charging decisions, communications on who to prosecute, and evidence that could show whether political factors influenced those decisions. That is standard discovery in cases challenging prosecutorial misconduct. And the DOJ has been resisting, citing executive privilege, citing prosecutorial discretion, and using every possible argument to avoid handing over the documents. The judge rejected those arguments, issued a clear order, produced the documents, comply with discovery, stop hiding behind privilege claims that do not apply, and the order was specific, listed categories of documents that had to be produced, set deadlines for production, and made clear that non-compliance would lead to sanctions. That is when Bondi allegedly panicked because she knew what was in those documents, knew they would show political interference, knew they would show that prosecutorial decisions were driven by Trump's demands rather than evidence, and she chose to destroy the evidence instead of producing it. Witnesses described seeing Bondi and her staff collecting documents shortly after the court order was issued, not just taking them for review, but actually removing them from the courthouse, carrying boxes of files, digital storage devices, everything that could contain relevant evidence, and the timing is highly suspicious. This happened within an hour of the court order being issued. That is not coincidence. That is Bondi responding to the order by destroying evidence instead of complying. The video evidence is especially damaging because it shows exactly what witnesses described. Bondi leaving the courthouse with boxes, her staff carrying files, all of it occurring right after the court order. The video has timestamps, shows the sequence of events, clearly proving that Bondi removed documents in response to a court order requiring their production. That is textbook obstruction. That is exactly what the federal obstruction law is designed to prevent. The judge's immediate response shows how seriously this was taken. Judges do not order immediate arrests lightly. They give defendants chances to explain, to surrender voluntarily, to arrange bail. But this judge ordered immediate arrest. That means the judge believes Bondi is destroying evidence right now. That delay would give her time to destroy more. That she poses an immediate threat to the integrity of the court process. When judges order immediate arrests, it is because they believe the defendant may flee or destroy evidence if given any opportunity. The judge's questioning of whether Bondi was involved in a cover-up is based on more than just the document removal. There is apparently evidence that Bondi has been coordinating with Trump to pursue political prosecutions, communications between the White House and the Attorney General discussing who to charge, who to investigate, what charges to bring. All of it showing that prosecutorial decisions were driven by political factors rather than evidence. Those communications are what the judge wanted to review, what the court order required to be produced, and what Bondi allegedly tried to destroy. The warning about consequences for hiding evidence was the judge giving Bondi one final chance, saying, "If you are involved in a cover-up, stop now before it gets worse. Produce the documents. Come clean, because if you continue hiding evidence, you will face criminal charges." Bondi allegedly ignored that warning, continued removing documents, and now she is facing exactly what the judge warned about: immediate arrest and criminal prosecution. Legal experts say this is grounds for immediate arrest and federal indictment based on clear law. The federal obstruction statute makes it a crime to destroy documents or other evidence during a legal investigation or court order. The penalties are severe because obstruction goes to the core of the justice system. If people can destroy evidence without consequences, then courts cannot find the truth. Justice becomes impossible. So Congress made obstruction a serious felony, and courts treat it very seriously. Bondi's position as Attorney General makes this worse, not better. because she is supposed to be the chief law enforcement officer. She is supposed to uphold the law and ensure justice is carried out. When the Attorney General commits obstruction, that is a fundamental breach of duty. That is using the office meant to enforce the law to break the law. Courts will not show leniency for that. They will impose strict penalties to send a message that no one is above the law. Congressional calls for Bondi's disbarment are based on Bar Association rules. Lawyers who commit crimes, especially crimes involving dishonesty or obstruction of justice, face professional discipline. Disbarment is the most serious penalty. It means losing the right to practice law. For an attorney, that is professional death. And it is appropriate for lawyers who destroy evidence or obstruct court proceedings because the legal profession depends on integrity, on lawyers respecting courts and following rules. Lawyers who destroy evidence have shown they cannot be trusted, that they will violate ethical duties when it benefits them. So bar associations disbar them, removing them from the profession. The bipartisan nature of congressional condemnation is significant. Republicans are not defending Bondi. They are not claiming this is political persecution. They are joining Democrats in calling for accountability. That shows how clear the alleged misconduct is, how indefensible Bondi's actions are. When both parties agree that an attorney general should be arrested, that suggests the evidence is overwhelming. The connection to DOJ political interference is the context that helps explain Bondi's actions. She would not destroy evidence unless that evidence showed wrongdoing. She would not risk obstruction charges unless she was trying to hide something more serious. So, what is she hiding? Almost certainly evidence that she has been weaponizing the Justice Department, using prosecutorial power to target Trump's political opponents, bringing charges based on political reasons rather than evidence. That is what the documents would show. That is what Bondi is trying to stop the court from seeing. Because if those documents become public, if they show political prosecutions, then Bondi faces not only obstruction charges, but also abuse of power charges, civil rights violations, and malicious prosecution. The destruction of documents is a cover-up, and cover-ups point to underlying crimes that are even more serious than the obstruction itself. The calls for broad DOJ reform are based on the understanding that the problem is not just Bondi, it is systemic. If the Attorney General is destroying evidence, then the entire department's integrity is in question. How can anyone trust DOJ prosecutions if the Attorney General is willing to commit crimes to hide evidence? How can the department investigate anything if its own leadership is under investigation? The answer is that you need external oversight, independent investigators who do not report to Bondi, who cannot be controlled or pressured, who can follow the truth wherever it leads. Congress is calling for the appointment of special prosecutors, inspector general investigations, and a full overhaul of DOJ leadership. All of it designed to restore integrity to a department that has been compromised by political interference. Okay, so let's break down what Bondi's arrest order means for her personally, for the Justice Department, and for the principle of accountability. Point 1. A judge ordering the immediate arrest of an attorney general for destroying evidence is unprecedented and shows how clear the alleged criminal conduct was. Judges do not make these orders without strong proof, without video evidence and eyewitness accounts, without believing that any delay would lead to further destruction of evidence. The fact that the judge ordered immediate arrest shows the evidence against Bondi is considered overwhelming, that her alleged guilt is clear, that she poses an immediate threat to the integrity of the proceedings. This is not a case with ambiguity or room for interpretation. Bondi was allegedly caught destroying evidence. The proof is presented as clear, and the judge is acting decisively to stop her. Point 2. Video evidence of Bondi removing documents after a court order creates strong proof of obstruction that will make conviction straightforward. Obstruction cases can be hard to prove because you must show intent. You must prove the defendant knew they were destroying evidence and did it to obstruct justice. But video of Bondi removing documents right after a court order demanding those documents proves intent, shows knowledge, and demonstrates obstruction clearly. Any jury seeing that video would convict. Any judge reviewing the evidence would uphold the conviction. This is as close to an open and shut case as prosecutors get. Point 3. Bipartisan congressional demands for arrest and disbarment show Bondi has lost all political protection. When Republicans join Democrats in condemning you, when your own party will not defend you, you are finished politically. Bondi cannot claim this is partisan persecution. She cannot say she is being targeted because she is a Trump ally, because Republicans are demanding her arrest as well. That bipartisan condemnation means Bondi is going to face the full force of the law. No political interference, no pressure to go easy on her, just direct prosecution and conviction. Point 4. Evidence that Bondi destroyed documents related to political prosecutions suggests she was covering up abuse of DOJ power. You do not destroy evidence unless that evidence shows wrongdoing. Bondi would not risk federal charges for obstruction unless the documents she destroyed show something even more serious. So, what do they show? Almost certainly that she has been weaponizing the DOJ, pursuing political prosecutions at Trump's direction, bringing charges without sufficient evidence. All of it documented in the communications and memos she allegedly destroyed. When those documents are recovered, when digital forensics restores what Bondi allegedly tried to destroy, the full scale of DOJ politicization will be revealed, and Bondi will face charges beyond obstruction alone. Point 5. This scandal triggers unavoidable sweeping reform of the DOJ to prevent future political interference and evidence destruction. Congress will not let this pass. They will use Bondi's alleged misconduct as justification for major structural changes. Independent oversight of prosecutorial decisions, requirements to document why charges are brought, systems for external review when political prosecutions are alleged, all designed to stop future attorneys general from doing what Bondi did. These reforms will outlast Bondi and will create permanent safeguards against DOJ weaponization. So, what is the bottom line? A judge ordered Pam Bondi's immediate arrest. After she was allegedly caught removing documents from the courthouse right after the judge issued an order requiring the DOJ to produce those documents. Witnesses reportedly saw it. Video captured it. Bondi allegedly rushing to destroy evidence instead of complying with a court order. That is obstruction of justice. That is evidence tampering. Clear federal crimes. The judge's response was immediate and forceful. Arrest her now before she destroys more evidence or before she flees. The judge determined Bondi poses an immediate threat to the integrity of the proceedings and acted decisively. Legal experts are unanimous that this is grounds for federal indictment, that if Bondi destroyed court-ordered evidence, she is guilty of serious felonies, that she could face decades in prison. Congress is demanding not only arrest but also disbarment. Both parties are saying that systematic evidence tampering at the highest levels cannot go unchecked. Republicans joining Democrats in condemning Bondi shows this is not partisan. This is about clear criminal misconduct. The connection to DOJ political interference explains why Bondi allegedly destroyed evidence. She was hiding proof that she weaponized the Justice Department, that she pursued political prosecutions at Trump's direction, that prosecutorial decisions were based on politics rather than evidence. The documents she allegedly destroyed would have proven all of that. That is why she took the risk of obstruction charges. She was trying to cover up even more serious crimes. Video evidence makes conviction almost certain, showing Bondi removing documents right after the court order. It proves obstruction beyond doubt, creates a case that any prosecutor can win. Calls for sweeping DOJ reform are intensifying, using Bondi's misconduct as justification for major structural changes. independent oversight, external accountability, and systems to prevent future weaponization. This is the moment Bondi's misconduct became undeniable, when she was caught destroying evidence, when a judge ordered her arrest, when the proof of her alleged crimes became public and irrefutable. Bondi is facing arrest, prosecution, conviction, and decades in prison, all because she chose to destroy evidence instead of complying with a court order, all because she was trying to cover up her alleged weaponization of the Justice Department. This is accountability in action. The Attorney General being held to the same laws as everyone else, facing arrest and prosecution for obstruction, proving that no position, no matter how high, puts you above the law.